Second. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Diana, and this is Dia Dash, right, where we dash deception. And I do that in various ways. Sometimes I use my art, sometimes I do it through song. And for those who can appreciate it, you do. For all others, I don't know what else to tell you. I've been troubleshooting and testing various channels for quite a while now, and sometimes you can put so much into it and not many people appreciate it. What can I tell you? So at that point, that's when you have to deal with people privately for paid members, things like that, because, sometimes we talk about law, sometimes, we have to do a deep dive. And I don't want to, overshare if I don't have the right supporters in my chat. I hope you guys like my new art there. Yes, I'm working on keeping this wire closer to the wall. I'm definitely trying to decorate a little bit in this room, and this was like the perfect spot for this. So I'm gonna go just take a quick walk just to make sure that the volume is working. We'll just see how it goes. I have been putting up shorts. Some people like it, some people don't. What can I say? I can only be true to me and what's important to me. And sometimes the best thing is to journal your thoughts. And sometimes you can get your point across in music and other mediums, because let's face it, that's just the generation that we're living in. People have really short attention spans. And not just that, it worked well enough in advertisement. Half of the stuff that you like, it's probably because you were used to the jingle and the commercials, right? They always give a little something that you can remember it and make it where, you can relate to it. So it's the same thing in, different teaching scenarios. If you're trying to convey to an audience, especially if they're a little bit younger, of course they can appreciate it, right? So I'm going to just do a volume check because some of you guys come through. I lost a few subscribers. That's okay. You guys probably overread into some of my songs. I guess, it's like Fergie going from performing in her group Wild Orchid, right, to Black Eyed Peas, right? If you didn't know, Fergie was all Miss, granola. And, as you mature, of course, it's okay to change your vibe. Things happen in life too that can bring upon a shift. It could be hardships that you've had to overcome. So everything is not going to be all, bubblegum and, raindrops type of deal, right? So it wouldn't be very honest. And so I'm not sure what people were expecting of me. I can only be me. But you can also have a relationship with God without being overly performative, without, thinking that if you just show up to a brick and mortar church where your soul is not really getting fed, but, you seem pious to your community, that's like some type of minimum threshold. And a lot of people just frankly don't feel safe in some of these environments because we've been done wrong and we've been misled. So you can have a spiritual connection wherever you are. And it doesn't mean all of a sudden you're going to click your heels and turn Amish and, oh my gosh, you got to walk around with a bed sheet over your head, because there's plenty of people who do that and don't even have, the self-control and temperance that, certain faiths require. So I think all of that is just very performative. But I'm going to go check my volume. If you guys are in my room, in my chat, in my classroom, which just is kind of like my office, my classroom, when you click and you go into this space, because some people think they can just come in and, be really rude and disrespectful. And it's like, you're not going to go into an actual class or a job or whatever, and then just start being disrespectful to the one who is orchestrating the event, right? that would be in poor taste. And if you go in there and you start mouthing off too much, what do they ask you to do? Go to the principal's office. They're not paid to deal with abuse, right? But on YouTube, it feels like that is what people gravitate to. You know, America does not run on Duncan. Oh no. She runs on abuse, okay? Well, the people who are trying to abuse her, right? But a lot of us are fighting back that notion. So before I go on and on, in case the volume, I like to do a little check. Make yourself comfortable. Get yourself a little bit of tea. This is Motivation Monday. Trying to help you guys kickstart a new week. Today is technically my day off, but do I ever really have days off? Not really. I just had a really intense phone call. It took a lot out of me. Very emotional too. Don't like to overshare because especially when it's something truly important, especially if it's in the beginning stages, it's really, really wise, guys, especially if you're working on stuff to keep that private too, just because, you want to stay focused on it. You just don't want any bad energy trying to sabotage you, right? So give me a second while I just check. Right there, you all. But you guys love my little Barbies. I love it. I think it looks kind of close, guys. I don't know what you think, but I think it looks close. Let's check just so I'm sure. Check just so I'm sure. Yep, I think we're good, guys. That's good. So it is working. I had to make sure because sometimes Some of you lovelies do not let me know at times too. I don't know what triggered said people on my channel because I lost a couple, but sometimes I do what I need to do on my channel because I am trying to filter out anyone who's not here for the right intention. I can't help that some people who think they know me or that could have known me once upon a time likes to stalk my channel. It's bad enough that I've been in contact with lawyers, which I'm not going to overshare here, because I have been stalked by certain people, which I do not appreciate, okay? One in particular has been over 15 years, okay? So when you start talking about certain things, of course, it's going to pique certain people's interest. So once it gets to that level, then you have to refrain from talking about said topic. So that's what I'm going to do. And, do what I have to do and let God lead that. And you have to motivate yourself in whatever you do, regardless of what it is. Because in this society, people will make any excuse to mistreat each other, any excuse. And you have to advocate for yourself. Just because the next person maybe wouldn't advocate for a loved one or themselves or their mother doesn't mean that you shouldn't do for yourself, is what I'm saying, okay? Because it's so easy for people, right, to be like, yeah, you should get over it. You should get over it. The things that happen in their life, they don't want to get over, right? So it's so easy if it doesn't happen to them, right? Where that speaks volumes to me, because if something really disturbing happened to somebody I care about, or even someone I know, I don't even really have to overly care about said person, I would feel sad. I have humanity, which I see a lot of people have lost. Maybe it's because of the horror movies, which I think should be illegal, to be honest, because everyone's like, oh, social media is doing this is doing that. How many of you guys are guilty of letting your children watch horror movies? I had a relative try to do this. I should have had him charged, okay, with contributing to a delinquency of a minor. Oh, yes. A lot of people sit on their soapbox because they did a lot of dirt out in the world and they haven't paid for it. They're so quick to try to talk about your mistakes when you were a teenager, but when it comes to them being grown-ass individuals doing what they do, of course they're going to have a level of ego because no one has checked them. No one has had the bravery or the courage to check them. Maybe they're being bribed. Some people, they cover up their sins with money, and a lot of people, it's obvious that they think that you can pay to, wash away certain sins, right? I mean, in the legal sector, they have what's known as restitution, and that's why certain churches, they want their donations because, they make you feel like they can absolve you of your sins, which they cannot, right? Like, why are they so important, right? That they can, be your mediator between you and God, as if when you're praying or even when you're having thoughts, right? If people would want to think there is an actual creator, could he read your thoughts? Could he read your heart? The Bible says that's what's happening. So why do we need to tell, strangers that may not have our best interests at heart, okay? Especially some of the predators. And today everyone's like 420, 420. Well, I can say it till I'm green in the face and you guys are still not going to believe me, but today is technically Hitler's birthday. So shout out to your big bro. I don't know, maybe he was a pothead, I don't know. And also what the Catholic Church calls the day of Our Lady of Fatima, which is a very interesting given name, because a lot of people who are Portuguese American actually had that name growing up too. So it shows a lot of the Muslim influence in Europe once upon a time, right? But there's been some type of division, obviously, because, you can tell they were all maybe one group, because there is a lot of people, Portuguese American, but there is a lot of people from my culture that they look super, super tan. They could pass for Middle Eastern. Some can pass for Indian. There's many different shades. Those who are maybe have family from the north or the northern regions can have maybe greener eyes, even blue at times too. I've seen strawberry to blonde hair. And then the more south you go, where it's closer to Africa, right? And some of the southern islands in Portugal, maybe Madeira, those islands too, you get more of a, darker hue type people as well. So you have your different ranges. Make sure you guys like the video. And yeah, sometimes I just have an issue sometimes when it comes to speaking on here, just because I had a tooth pulled in the back. So there is a little hole there. I need yet another implant. And I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of the movie Radium Girls and how their jaws being in different environments. And also too, I tell you guys too a lot, it's not a big secret that I don't believe that, radiation and surgery and whatnot is great for cancer. If anything, it can cause the cancer, right? So it's been shown that places with high levels of radiation, or if you've been exposed, or if you had, an extreme amount of x-rays at the dentist too. I mean, they put all this gear on you and they leave the room, right? So they don't get exposed. I'm not sure, but over time, it does weaken the jaw a little bit. I'm noticing that I'm having some of the minerals. I'm having to remineralize my teeth and things like that. So, of course, I've been doing less of maybe being out in the sun and trying to do more alkaline shakes, whatever I can, because you think it couldn't happen to everybody every day, but even our phones are radioactive. I definitely wanted to purchase an EMF reader again so I can scan my environment. But anyways, I've noticed that over time, I had some weakening in my jaw, and because of, just not tending to things quick enough, putting other people first, which, this is the year, if you haven't, it's time to put yourself first, okay? Because this is not something to take lightly. I know a lot of people who put that in the back burner, and then it can become extremely painful, extremely expensive, and plus, who doesn't want to have healthy teeth, right? So that's just something to think about, because the more times you get x-rays and whatnot. So some people over time, they'll get a little bit of recession and whatnot. And you know what? You got to do what you got to do. I was not happy about having to pull this tooth, although I was told I needed a graft years ago. But it was just I had too much going on. I was taking care of others per usual, putting the family first. And sometimes you don't always get the credit for it, but the right ones do appreciate it, because I know that even from my own family, there's a couple of angels and the rest are devils, that could be in any family. But yeah, trying to get you guys motivated. What I have here is a agenda. This is really important. This has been really helpful. Let's see, I got my pen. I'm going to put my glasses in case you guys have any comments. If you guys have any questions, I'm just, addressing any questions if you guys have. I know the last time I was doing a video, someone was like, oh, they were trying to comment saying, they couldn't follow along the subtext, that it wasn't put in periods. Well, I speak in complete sentences. The AI can only catch up so far. So, if I'm speaking fast, us New Englanders, we're like one step away from New York, Massachusetts. Hello, we're, Red Sox, damn near, right? We can speak pretty fast. A lot of people will misconstrue and think that I'm from New York, right? And I'm like, no, it's just our tempo being up north, right? I have been around people from other states, and at times I can think that they speak too slow, and they can think that I speak too fast. It's just a demographics thing. We do not all sound alike. Some people from Boston have a different dialect. They do not know how to pronounce their R's too good. And I say coffee almost more like a New Yorker than a Massachusetts, person. So just to clarify that. But yes, so I have this agenda, really important, to schedule everything that I need. This is one thing that you need if you don't have. And some people like to say, oh, your videos are not structured enough. If you have a topic, a specific topic that you really want me to sink my teeth into, then please visit the Cash App, Diana-7, or on PayPal. Put in a suggestion. I'll be happy to expound upon it. But, to come and just crash people's channels, I've already I told you guys, 500 plus. I actually spent last night taking down at least 50 videos. I'm like, I'm giving way too many gems away. I have way too many wild cards that it's like, listen, I don't know who's good, who's bad. I'm not going to just come out and give, as they say, free game. That is stupid. That is foolish, knowing that you have people with ill intent. And the ones who judge the most do the most, okay? The ones who have the most to say when you're actually doing something honest, professional, nothing shady about my channel. But then they'll have literal websites that they're on. It's funny how people will stalk your channel and they have really interesting social media pages. Sorry, I'm not on Twitch and the rest of it. You know what I mean? Acting like a wannabe porn star. I don't do that. You know what I mean? I actually have a professional persona. Although some people try to perpetrate and solicit for that type of stuff, that to me, all you're doing is exposing, how sick you really are, right? And that you're on the wrong page. And it's good to know that there are those out there that reveal themselves, so I can have other people look out, is all I'm saying. But the ones who say the most are the ones who really hate women and don't even like their own women, because there's a lot of guys out there who let their women solicit, do OnlyFans, do all this crazy shit in a bikini. Like, no one's doing that on my channel. Like, I'm literally just talking. We're sharing ideas. I'm not turning my channel into a smut channel like some people who, pretty soon I'm going to start doing reviews on people who are doing reviews, because some people are super judgmental, reviewing other content creators, calling them every name but a child of God, making fun of their weight, making fun of their lifestyle, saying that they have no content. But meanwhile, there's so many channels that are monetized because they're stalking other channels, watching their non-crappy content and making money doing that. So, pretty soon, is that what I need to do? Do I have to start doing screen records? Because some of you all do screen records of people's channels and then you just sit there and you comment. That's why just knowing that that exists make people want to be that much more careful, or heck, even that much more boring if that's what people need to do. right? Like, hey, you can just stare at me for a half an hour, you know what I mean? And just, assume whatever you want, and it's one thing, which is sad. There's no excuse when men do it. I mean, we can actually, is that even a surprise? Like, that's expected, right? Even though it's not okay. But now you got women doing that to other women. And I'm like, level 10 creepers, that's for damn sure, right? Or, a lot of gay guys doing that to women too. Like, you think you're so much better. Like, I'm sitting in my, in my nook just looking at you like, oh, you think you're so cute, putting down women. What? Because you think you're better now all of a sudden because you found one that actually is dealing with problems. I mean, talk about, punching down, huh? Really punching down. What's next? You're going to find somebody that reminds you of Forrest Gump and you're going to trip him and, make videos on him too. Oh, only if you don't like their personality. Is that it? So you have to like someone's personality to have empathy these days? Is that what we're doing? That is wild. Yeah, because it goes to show, like, some people think they deserve all the sympathy and, mercy in the world. But when it's their turn and they're looking at other people, look how they act. And, I'm sure God feels the same way too. It's like a metaphorical classroom we're all in. And he's the teacher. You're going to go in and be like, oh, this person's this and this culture, and start doing that when he created everybody. And you start doing that long enough and not want to come together to worship him correctly or learn his law, he's going to tell you to skedaddle too. He's going to tell you, get the hell out of my classroom. You know what I mean? It's just common sense. If anyone actually reads the book and tries to understand, that point of view, that would make a lot of sense. Just like if you had kids and one was only just talking bad about the other and making every excuse not to get along. Now they're both going to get in trouble until they get along. I guess you have to be an actual parent to understand that. I mean, is that just me? But if they're just like, making every excuse not to get along, yeah, I don't really, and then trying to drag you into it, like you're going to come in and beat up, like he's not your personal sucker to do any of that, And a lot of people, if they get offended, that's on them. I have done more research, more study on my own in prayer in the damn woods on a mountain, okay, meditating, than in some of these churches, okay, because they treat you like you're illiterate, like you can't read for yourself, like you don't have comprehension skills, and they'll just read a sentence or two and be done and spend the rest of their time, chanting, singing, praying, and asking for donations. And then if you're lucky, you might get a potluck at the end, but you're not really getting much of an education. So, of course, people are going to leave there and they're going to judge each other incorrectly, to the point where people look at others who even smoke and they're like, oh my gosh, that's such a sin. Not that, I try to encourage anything that you deem is not healthy. I don't know if you have asthma, whatever your limitations are. But to use that and to, again, that maybe that was an attack against the Native Americans, because part of their belief system was the peace pipe. And like I shared with you in the book of Isaiah, chapter 18, verse 4, there is a little something about herbs and about God, like, heating the herbs. So it kind of sounds like, that's part of their ritual. It was part of the anointing ceremony. And it was also called cannabism. Okay. So that's where we get the word cannabis. And if you didn't know, the science of botany is where they break down plants and their constituents, and they try to use them for pharmaceuticals. So isn't that kind of, hypocritical or contrary? First of all, you shouldn't be altering anything that's natural, because now it's not going to do what it was supposed to do exactly. But I guess it's okay, as long as they get to turn it into a pharmaceutical, kind of thing, which I was reading my Webster's dictionary, and it kind of breaks down in the index where we get all the words from for the dictionary, and they take some from the, medicine, from physics, from everything else, and then it was showing botany. And then when you look up botany, it tells you how they study plants to be used in pharmaceuticals. I mean, what is that, right? So then, you have these churches who are like, maybe that was a way to condemn them, because years ago it was criminalized, right? Which is funny, because in the 90s there was so many, sexual deviants. There was so many guys trying to molest teenagers, doing all things have not changed, right? So many, drunken brawls, all kind of crazy stuff, right? But when it came to that, that was a big deal. That was treated like you had something, really strong now, like if you had, fentanyl or something, right? Which I never did, but cannabis years ago had that same stigma as if it was something like that. It just shows what happens with the lack of education and how many people were demonized for that. And I knew really early on as a teenager, especially dealing with a lot of adversity, that was a way to kind of like calm someone down dealing with anxiety or depression or trauma or any of that stuff, right? And, it was very disheartening to hear when you knew better, when you knew it was a flower, it was not what it was taught, right? Like a lot of things people are learning in this society, right? To be treated like a bad person, like people had something over me, right? To control me, right? Like that was like the most horrible thing you could do, right? Meanwhile, I was seeing some vicious activity going on at the time, right? I'm like, really? So I think that was just a way too to be biased toward certain groups of people. And also this was something that was practiced in many different cultures, okay? I believe in the Hindu culture, the Slavic culture, not just one. And many, many different cultures, people were using it. People were buried with it. They were using it for paper, for fuel. And it shows that, everything's okay until, corporations get involved. And let's not forget that this country is only 250 years old and, not very old at all to, try to act like the police of the world, And it's one thing to police your own household and, worry about what's going on, in our backyard, which needs to be done before going everywhere else. So, I'll refrain from talking about that today. But I'm really glad that in my lifetime, I could see, at least with cannabis, that it was decriminalized. I spent many years advocating for that, educating, breaking it down, showing like, hey, out of all the things that are out there, I know people who have been forced Prozac and everything else, and it completely destroyed their memory. It completely messed up their health. Some people had metabolic syndrome, or they'll gain a lot of weight. It'll ruin their muscle tone, so many things, because that's not what our body was made for. We do have cannabis receptors, right? So it is like a tea, like chamomile and the rest of it. I'm always drinking tea. That's why probably one of the only drinks I really like, which I don't drink, is maybe a margarita, because it's made with agave, which is a plant, and maybe like a beer because they make it with hops. And that is just like with a full meal. It's not something I do often. And, I just know my limitations. But yeah, so it definitely, there's nowhere in the Bible that says, oh, it's this huge sin. If anything, of course, the pastor is not going to talk about, Isaiah chapter 18, verse 4, Which it has been said too that people who like herbs over pharmaceuticals and the rest of it are harder to control. And we actually have incredible memories to the point that, I mean, I'm writing notes from stuff that happened over 30 years ago, breaking things down. And, my mind is very sharp. I can actually remember more than most people would like to give me credit for, which is fine, right? Because they just assume, oh gosh, you do that, you must be a loser, you must be this. And I'm like, really? That's funny, because the same people who had the most to say tried to capitalize on it when it became profitable, right? When it comes down to dispensaries or growing for them and all these different things. Oh, it's okay then when it puts money in your pocket, but when we're talking about actual natural medicine that can take some of the anxiety from maybe memories of trauma, or any type of assault, or any type of all of that stuff, right? You would be surprised, because I know some people who have a hard time functioning because they may have flashbacks, they may have PTSD and whatnot, and it kind of just helps you get out of your head. Some people look at it so wrong. I mean, just because some people abuse things and medications, no matter what form, doesn't mean that's what it's for, and doesn't mean serious people, that's what they're doing with it. It's made for, okay, you have a little bit of stress. If you feel like your blood pressure is going up, you went for a walk, you did all the things, or you're having a hard time sleeping, if you're having ruminating thoughts and it's hard to, shut your brain down. Yeah, that stuff does have its place. I know one woman who was scared of flying, and she took an edible, and she said it, helped her relax and knocked her out. And I'm like, hey, exactly. If it's done correctly, right? If you're dealing with so many emotions and it's just, you just need to quiet it down. That way you can, be functional, or you can be motivated to do what you got to do to get out of your head. That is what it's there for, not to get yourself obliterated, right? And where, you're cross-eyed. Okay, no one's telling anyone to do that. That's like me saying, hey, you like coffee? Then it's smart to go drink 10 cups of coffee back to back. Does that make any damn sense, right? So a lot of people get things a bit skewed, and then they, throw people down a rabbit hole. They make them think, oh, this is so bad, this is whatever. And then what's the alternative? They get put on Xanax. They get put on all these really, really hard prescriptions that are horrible for your body and your mind, right? And I don't like to see people hurting. I know some of you guys do. That is like your kink and your fetish, but God don't sleep, because, there's only, a matter of time before it happens to you. Especially the people who use their whole form. I'm sorry, that stuff really makes me sick. I'm like, I feel bad for some people, right? And I look at the content creators who are doing reactions, just slamming people, putting them down, thinking that they're so much better. And I'm like, looking at them, I'm like, you're a pile of shit. Like, just because you got a couple of other freaking mean boys and girls on your squad acting trifling like you, don't make it okay. It's actually embarrassing. And then you're tearing people down so you can put money in your pocket. That's funny. We need to start seeing the videos of the reaction people doing reactions of freaking some hateful reactors. Like, you know what I mean? It'll be like a screen within a screen within a screen. Like, who the hell are you to be talking about this person? Okay, let's see your life. What makes it so perfect? And I'm like, I'm sure we can find all kind of things wrong with it. Like, just because people are like, oh, well, if they share it online, then it's open for consumption. You can comment or whatever and leave it at that. But to make it your job now, and that you look at people's channels and it's just a whole thing making fun of other people, and all the people are in the chats just talking shit. And in my lyrics, that's what I mean too, guys, in my songs when I'm looking down on these clowns. Because, I'll be relaxing. Not every day I want to upload, but I'll just be looking. I'll be looking at different videos. And it's all about the comments, right? It's all about the comments and how people are just, they have all this bravado, right? And like, ooh, you think you're freaking so big, right? And it's so easy to just be a troll. And I'm just looking at them. I'm like, look at this scab. Oh, another piece of shit. Oh, there goes another piece of shit. And I'm more distracted by the comments than I am about the person that they're trying to flog. I'm like, oh, what's next? If Jesus was walking the earth, you'd be making fun of him. Oh, he's so dusty. He must be gay or whatever. What a loser. He doesn't even get a job. He deserves to get crucified. Like, don't act like you guys wouldn't be thinking the same. You'd be doing the same stuff. It's unbelievable to like get horned up over seeing people's downfall. That's just not my nature, guys. I really, I thank God. Thank you, God, that I haven't lost my humanity. No matter how much ugly I've seen out there, I can still care about people and animals, even if what they're doing is kind of foolish. I'll be like, listen, honey, just like with that girl on my street, I wasn't trying to exploit her or anything. I took a quick picture, actually took it down from my YouTube because, whatever. I do protect people's privacy. I just left it on Facebook just to warn others, hey, there's this drunk girl on this street and she had files, but she had personal medical files. Now, I don't care if you were working in a medical office, that's not something that you would take home, right, with you. So she was like stumbling. It's like God put me home at the right time, right place. Like literally as I pulled in, she was like, all stumbling and all like, hey, I'm okay, right? And she had all these nips with her. And I even took 2 of her nips and I trashed it. I'm like, honey, you drank enough. I'm like, honey, you seem like a nice girl. Please worry about your liver. You know what I mean? Please take care of your liver. That can fail on you. You know what I mean? Make sure you get home safe, whatever, right? Because I don't know why she was in that situation. But yet, she looked like, maybe she wasn't doing something right, obviously, because, she was so obliterated that when, we were trying to help her up, she kept like dropping more paperwork and like the neighbor came out and we're both looking at the pages and then we're all looking at each other and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't feel right, does it? Right? And I'm saying that out loud. I'm like, this is what I'm saying. This doesn't feel right. And so he kind of agreed too, because it was like 3 different people's IDs and, intake information for, maybe some type of medical assistance or whatnot, right? And one of the girls I remember, I believe from high school. So I was like, oh, this is not good, right? So although I can see her obviously, not having the best day, maybe not being an honest person, right? I did what I could to mitigate it, but I mean, I wasn't going to put her on, Front Street and call her all these things. I know people would love that, right? Because they do it for less, right? But I at least tried to mitigate these situations and know that, I can be like a silent angel in my own capacity. So I took as much as I could and, the ID portions and all that. And, I put it into a bag that I had, right? And she was distracted and we got her a bag for her other belongings. And, I just made sure she was okay and that she wasn't being followed or whatnot. And, she seemed to be okay. But, I shredded that stuff and I threw it out. I'm like, you know what? I do more than what people would do for me. I don't let other people's opinions, because if I was like half of these people, especially the ones who can be so two-faced, I could have been like, oh, they're a different nationality. Why should I care? Go do what you got to do. It got nothing to do with me. I could have just been like, girl, I could have just pretended I didn't see nothing and just let her do whatever. You know what I mean? Make credit cards. I don't know. Right? If I had the same type of idea, if everyone thought like that, nothing good would happen in this world. And I'm pretty sure that God above can see that much. You know what I mean? Like, can see that much, like literally. So I took that opportunity and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? I didn't care who it was. If it was me, you know, obviously, you know, I would hope that someone would do something. Who knows? Probably not. But I'm not living for what other people can do. I'm trying to be the best role model for me and for my life, right? And for the things I want to see happen, right? So you can't wait for the world to be perfect for you to be motivated enough to want to do anything positive, right? So I'm like, okay, there was like a picture of a Spanish guy, a black guy, and a Spanish lady. And I was like, or a Portuguese. I think she was Portuguese like me because, like I said, we went to high school together. She looked really, really familiar. She was just a little bit more tan. So I took all the stuff and I just ripped it off. And I took a picture of her just to warn others because I don't know where she got that from. That way she just doesn't get access to that. And I was like, hey, I made sure she was okay, but this girl had things that she wasn't supposed to have. Just make sure, guys. You know, obviously, if anyone sees anything unsuspecting or strange, maybe on their credit report or things like that, they will, you know, they will make the appropriate adjustments needed, right? Knowing that maybe their information was compromised, things like that, or maybe get a PIN number for their social security, right? Which could be obtained through the IRS, things like that, right? So I try to learn from every experience and take the lesson from it and, you know, share it with you guys. And every day is going to be something different. And I know I don't upload every single day because I'm trying to see where this channel goes. I do my best. I share. I do have other channels too. I misplaced my SD card, so maybe I'll have to go order some more. That's fine. Those things are really little, so you have to put them in a special box. And that way I can go, you know, download videos and put it on my other forums too. I just do what I can when I can. I mean, there's just so much going on in the world. You know, I have many things in the works and, you know, I let God lead the way. I swear today, he showed me a sign today that, you know, I needed to press forward and I'm just having faith in doing so. And you know what? You can have faith and be a little apprehensive, a little nervous about things. That is natural. It would be weird and fake if you didn't. But even during those feelings, even feeling the apprehension, faith is to continue to push forward, even if you don't know where the path is going to lead. But it's going to lead in a better place than when you started. So you have to just keep pressing forward because that's where our lives are. You know what I mean? The clock doesn't stop for anyone. It's not going to rewind. It's just going to keep ticking forward. And all you can do is, you know, go along with it and make the best out of it and learn from what happened yesterday and maybe warn the next person so it doesn't happen to them. And, you know, being an example of what strength looks like. Because so many people are waiting for people to be weak and hurt and when they're the most vulnerable, right? So they can exploit them and laugh at them and take joy. And I think that is a sickness that can't be readily cured. I don't think so. Maybe not even in this lifetime. You know, that's definitely has to do with a character issue, a spiritual issue, and all of this stuff. You know, some of us like to use our spiritual gifts, like one of my songs say, right? And some people just got stupid tricks, you know, and I try to be the better of the two, obviously. But I hope that today was motivating for you guys. I know some people can feel like it's a manic Monday. You got my beautiful moon over the ocean, which I've always wanted a picture like this. So thank you so much for the artist who put this together. This is all glass. Okay. It was a little investment, but so worth it. So therapeutic, so beautiful. And of course, even though today is technically the second day of the week, It's known as MOONday in the current calendar, right? And so the moon can have you feeling very meditative and reflective. And, that's an homage to my name. So I can appreciate that. And so, especially today was a really good day to analyze how things can get better and what you want to see improve in your life. And learning how to be a good mentor for others and also for yourself, for your younger self. If anybody else failed you, you can be a mentor for yourself and go back and advocate, for the younger version of you that was let down. So I'm seeing that in a lot of ways. God has given me the strength. I don't know where tomorrow may lead, right? But I know that I'm going to at least try, and that's how you should be. Regardless who's trying to heckle you and throw stones, I don't care who it is. It's so easy to do that, right? But it's harder to actually be a trailblazer and to do something that can trend and to be a motivator or, share something with your own life that can help others. But to just be a freaking heckler, a hater, a Judas, it's bad enough men doing it. Now it's the gay men doing it. Now it's the women doing it to other women. You wouldn't like people just sit there and make fun of your high-pitched voice or your weight issues or the pimples on your face. Like, you guys are so perfect. Or your butch voice. Like, a lot of no one's perfect, guys, right? It's so easy. Does that make it easier? Like, if everyone just huddles together and points at one person, then everyone will be, a little bit distracted from your flaws. Is that how that works? So everyone's looking at them like he. But then, does that make you an instant 10 when you do that? Do you feel like you've arrived? Like you're a model now? Is that it? I don't think doing that makes you any better. Although it just shows that you're quick to shit on the next person to line your pocket. So a lot of you guys need to be careful, especially on YouTube, because you'll have a lot of haters that won't support your channel, but will be so quick to stream it, right? And to try to make reaction channels. Hey guys, if you know anyone that's doing that to me, please send me a shout out and let me know so I can sit and watch, you know what I mean? And then that way I can have, some comments too. God knows, I'm sure by now everyone's doing it now, right? How pathetic, right? And I'm like, yeah, I guess you need a role model. That's why, right? But I've seen at least like 5 girls that's happening to. Like literally 5 girls, more so than men that's happening to. Kind of crazy. Is that what the girls are resorting to do to be accepted by males who would not otherwise give them the time of the day? You got to act like you're one of the boys and whatever, and you're going to go in and, throw rocks at the girls too to make yourself seem special in their eyes. Like they're not going to turn around and do that to you one day. Wow, is all I got to say. Wow. So anyways, guys, get yourself a calendar. That's been the best thing. I got myself an agenda. I'm going to write down my notes today. Going to go finish what I'm doing, motivating myself to stay on course. So get whatever you need to help that with you. I am definitely going to start designing different planners because this has been so helpful. And this is one way to keep yourself organized. So I definitely want to create a product that can help you guys do that. And if you're into interior design, at my company, we sell a lot of electric fireplaces, and they do have their place, guys. I do love this little fusion here. They do have their place. They're more decorative. They work well if you don't want to deal with like the venting and all of that stuff. You can hardwire it to go up to 10,000 BTUs, but they come standard in 5,000 BTUs, but some of them are really pretty realistic flame. And some people don't really need too much of the heat. They just want an ambiance. So I was looking at picking one of these up for myself. I thought it was so cute. So just want to share with you. It has a remote, really, really pretty. And it's just good for people who have condos or don't want to do like a huge remodeling in their house. And, you know, the venting is half of the cost when it comes to some of these projects. So that's just a little idea to get you motivated in case you guys are, you know, redecorating, doing spring cleaning. Spring is the best time to clean, do a deep clean, decorate, all that fun stuff, because it's not too hot. That way you can actually get it all done, because in the middle of summer, no one wants to do that much heavy cleaning, right? It can be really, really hot. So that's why the springtime is the best time. So thank you so much for joining me. Whoever stopped by, this will be uploaded soon. Make sure you drink a little something that will help you today. I'm drinking dandelion tea. This is great for your liver. It detoxes, keeps you clean from the inside out. I was sharing a little bit of my rose cream that I'm sending off to my mom. Very, very, very high quality. Rose is great for your skin. They even make lip balm. So good. Really rich. And so I just been moisturizing, smelling nice and pretty. And like I shared with you guys, because I know some people are so sick. They're like, oh, a rose, it must be that thing. I'm like, excuse me. Number one, never used that thing in my life. So get your head out of your ass. Pretty sad. Second, my mommy made a dress for me when I was young, and it had a beautiful little silver rose. It was so popular that even my cousin wanted to wear it for her mom's wedding. Okay, her second marriage, of course, at that time. But it was, you know, so popular that they actually recycled it in the family. I'll try to drum up a picture of it. But so I started researching rose and realizing that it has a lot of therapeutic properties. And one of my first channels on Dia Dash was literally me at the beach, picking rose petals, making rose water. So I do try to make it as structured as I can, guys. If you guys have any special requests, let me know. But I think some people like to be contrarian instead of saying, hey, you did a great job, which some of you have done, and I really appreciate you guys. You got others who do, you know, all they know how to do is just kick up dust. It's like, yeah, because that's all they have in their soul. How can somebody with like no love in their heart give love to others? I mean, it's just common sense. Like, I know how to be happy for the next person, and I know how to be a good cheerleader and a motivator. It doesn't always have to be about me. And even if I see somebody struggling a little bit, I want to try to at least elevate them, because I know what it is to be in a tough situation and have people make it worse. And you know what I mean? Make it even more difficult. So I don't want to do that when it's my turn to try to mitigate situations and being, you know, a peacekeeper and a mentor and, you know, a friend, if anything. So thank you so much, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. Stay motivated. I hope you guys are motivated to do something nice for someone today. And, only time will tell, guys. I can't change your soul for you, is all I say. But, you know, God watches all, and we have to be mindful of that. So have a great day, guys. Until next time.